But I actually had the clip pulled up, so no. Oh well, yeah.
Oh, hi.
Well, let's. I mean, so here's why I was like getting backstage. So like I was like, okay, I'm going to this one grocery store across town. I'm gonna get this hot sauce that's low sodium. There's not a lot of low sodium hot sauces at the grocery store near me. So I bought like 3 bottles of hot sauce, and I come home and I'm like, okay, what do you put with hot sauce? Hot sauce and eggs, right? Like that's awesome. I'm gonna put together a little scramble. Get some turkey bacon, some spinach, a little goat cheese. I'm rocking it. I'm rolling. I'm like, I'm gonna saute some habanero pepper into this, and also put the hot sauce on top. I'm gonna seed that pepper out. So dinner, like breakfast for dinner, was great. It was a good time. Enjoyed myself. Right before I go to get backstage, I'm like, okay, go ahead, quick use the restroom and make sure my face is good. It's also like allergy and cold season, guys. So I had a bat in the cave. I'm gonna be honest with you. So I just like, I'm gonna pluck that out before I wash my hands. And guess what?
What? Chicken butt.
I was working with Rob Habanero. I touched the inside of my nose.
Ooh.
That'll get you every time.
That's
Just what was it about the green guy from Mario?
You just ruined the.
I saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
Roping.
I like that. You're a jabroni.
Go ahead. We're batting 1,000 tonight.
That was hilarious. So I was gonna say. I have. Oh, actually, this would have even been better. Was going to do something like that. So a lot of people think that they know who the American Express killer was. They've got the wrong guy. I actually did my own research, and I found him.
American Express? He killed the
United Healthcare.
Or United Healthcare.
Too very. Oh no! You see, I also did
and his accomplice.
Yeah, well, yes.
Obviously, it was Jeff Alterman, yes.
And the fall guy.
I also did some of my own research, and I found what I think is the actual killer.
Okay.
I wasn't, huh? I told you, mother.
Whoa! Whoa! Shit.
Call the cops!
Okay, so watching this, I just immediately thought of like, I had a lady one time who tried to commit credit card fraud, and then she like left all of like the product that she bought on the fraudulent credit card on the counter when she ran out the stores. Like, that's the equivalent of Mike, like that happening at Mike's job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot to dissect there. So the full story of this apparently is the guy demanded to purchase this vehicle, and apparently the dealership kept telling him it needed work. It needed work. He drove off the lot, and it had something was wrong with it. And he said if they didn't refund him his money immediately, he was going to drive through the window. And he lived up to that promise.
Fuck around and find out. Yes, he did it. They found out.
Like, wow.
Like, what frame of mind?
It's legally your vehicle.
So he did buy it officially, or
he was trying to return it after buying it, and they said no.
I don't know if returning cars, like you can return a lot of things in this day and age, but cars isn't really one of them. You know?
It's Wednesday nights. What the show? My name is AJ Lancaster. I'm one of your co-hosts.
Hi, we're the Deacons, and we got love in our hearts for a certain movie that I'm sure we're going to discuss tonight.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Now it
And-
feels better. Juice Juice needs to be his own centralized person, and
Yes,
AJ needs to be
AJ
in the
has
left
to be in the
corner.
top left corner, or else I get very overwhelmed. Juice, keeping it juicing. I see that tree. It is the most wonderful juice of the year.
Most wonderful
Who
juice. in the year.
agrees?
Yeah, before we get into that, we should talk about a recurring side character that's developing in my life.
Yes.
Yes.
So I frequent Walmart quite a bit. It's where I do the majority of my grocery shopping, I would say.
It's affordable.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like I don't mind. Like I thrive in chaos. So it's all good with me. So I'm in there and I'm like, I usually don't really buy liquor or stuff at Walmart, but I wasn't going to any other or planning to go anywhere else. So, and I was at Walmart already and I needed a
one of
bottle
those
of wine.
states where you can buy the hard stuff at Walmart.
Yeah, you can. They have a whole separate
That's most
section. And you
places.
It's so cold that I
you-
think y'all
yeah.
deserve that. You don't need to make a separate stop to a liquor store.
You
to get
pay
that
for and you pay for it right there, and then you like move on. And that's
Yeah.
actually what this has to do with. So he was working that right the checkout for the little liquor section, and so I buy the bottle of wine. He looks at my ID and he's like, and then he says like, "Oh, you're 39." So I assume he like entered it in as like 39 or something. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, funny, haha. And then he's like, when I was 39, actually when I was 42, I'm 42, when I was 39, I got divorced and went on this whole long thing about like he wasn't sure how to date and how young was appropriate for him to date. And he's like, and so I started Googling and I found out like you divide half your age and add 7.
Yep.
So like I could date somebody who's like 27. And then on a whole thing and how like he's got the girlfriend and he would have just kept going talking. Like I've already paid. It's been a bit. And then finally somebody else like comes up to check out and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, nice chatting with you.
Is your Walmart not busy enough that there wasn't someone like immediately there to check out? Because I can't relate to that experience.
No. I mean, normally it would be, but not. Most people don't do their liquor shopping at Walmart, I think. But I'm like, I think that's odd. I actually texted you guys, that it was kind of funny. And then literally the next day, this time I'm buying like a ton of soda for a Christmas party, and it's literally all I'm buying. And I go to the self checkout, and he's the guy that like just kind of standing there watching over the self checkout, and he just goes, "That's a lot of soda. That's a lot of sugar," and it devolved into him talking about like, I went to my buddy's house and had a sun drop and it's discontinued. It was pretty like special, but I don't drink soda, but I had one. I figured it was worth it. And then he started for some reason talking about Disney World. And he's like, we're going to Disney World. Or no, he's like, I can't drink soda because I don't want to get gout because I'm about to go to Disney World and I don't want to be walking around. And I'm like, oh, well, then you could get a wheelchair and then you can skip all the lines. That was literally the only thing I said.
Oh, but that's a conversation starter. That's on you, buddy.
But then I'm self-checking out this whole time.
I don't know how
like,
soda turned into gout, turned into Disney World.
And then he's like, oh, my,
man
like, I've never been to Disney World. My daughter's been to the Disney in Hawaii, so we're excited to take her and go with my girlfriend. So I learned that the girl he had met the previous day actually is like officially his girlfriend. So like, Good for him.
Wow.
And then he just walked away. There was no bye or like finish like stamping the conversation. It was just
They're like, oh, okay, bye.
He just like walked away and started doing something else, and I was like, all
I
right.
love this man.
We need him on the show. We really
We know
need
his name. Have we seen the name tag? Can we start?
I tried
writing
to see
like
it today, and then
something
today I had to go back to get more stuff for the party, and I saw him, and I was gonna go check out in his line
just to see what
just to
conversation
see what
was about.
happened. But then somebody else was like, "Oh, are you ready to check out?" And so I didn't want to.
You should be like, no.
Be rude,
I'm
like,
here
no.
for him.
I'm here for that, man.
I really wanted to ask her, like,
I'm here to
like,
see
the guy
Derek.
that- yeah, if I knew his
You're
name,
like,
yeah.
"Oh,
Oh, he's
yeah,
become a good
Derek."
close friend. He'll be, but I wonder. He probably has no idea that I was the same person from the day before, because he probably just does that with everybody. I'm
Oh,
sure. But I've never
But
heard that. I've
you
never heard
gotta
anyone be like, "Oh yeah,
FaceTime
that
with him.
Walmart
One of
employee."
these days he'll remember you, Juice. And he'll be like,
Yeah.
the juice. And you'll be like, what's up? We're calling him Derek for now. What's up, Derek?
Yeah.
It might be Derek.
Yeah.
Divorced
Derek.
Derek. That's what we're calling him.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
that's
ask him
pretty
how
Divorced
Disney
Disney
World
Derek.
went.
Triple
Yeah.
D.
How's his gout?
How was the old Disney? How was the old
Yeah,
time with the mouse?
Yeah. Did you get the?
If the
yeah.
follow-up that his
The
name
disability
is
test?
Derek, can you
I will
imagine,
be-
guys?
Y'all, we need to play the lottery. So, like, we clearly are calling.
No,
things.
we need to go to Wisconsin and see him.
Listen,
our good
when
friend
we
Derek.
visit-
Don't go to
never
Orlando.
make a pilgrimage to Wisconsin to visit
Just
Jews.
to
If
visit,
Walmart isn't the
legendary
first place
Walmart.
to go to find this man, I don't know what. I don't know
No,
what.
we're going to a nice family Italian restaurant,
and
and then we're going to a tattoo parlor.
but then we need to go to his parents' house.
We're gonna go to a tattoo parlor, and I will add to the Simpsons tattoo.
Yes. Would you gentlemen like to discuss the bet? And then I have some pleas. I know some people in the fantasy football chat are watching, and I have a couple of requests.
So AJ and I made a bet. We made this our league. Our league has 14 teams in it, and you get to play one team twice because of that. Because it's 14 weeks of the regular season. So I decided to make week 14 a rivalry week where everybody would play their perceived quote unquote rival in the league, and it worked out in some ways very funnily. Like PLD played PJ, and AJ and I obviously played each other. So
I played Moose, my rival,
yep,
And-
your big rival.
my big heated
And-
rival.
I feel like you have to get Mariano next year.
It's worse than
Chad's played Jacob.
Ohio State and Michigan. Pepper spray was used. I tried to plant a flag. It was a moment.
So yeah, it is bad.
Bad. Y'all,
but-
you weren't like you should have seen it. Moose came out flying hot without pepper spray. I'm still, the eyes are still hurting.
Well, it did
Mike,
actually.
Mike and I have like this thing that we've done escalating bets every year.
Yeah.
Escalating side bets when we have our fantasy matchup. And
Y'all are
I've called it the Idiot Bowl. I don't know if that's catching on, but
No, it's
I had the second worst team in our league by far
Oh yes.
and put up
and he set this season's fucking scoring record.
220 fantasy points.
I literally was sitting there watching. He had fucking Jordan Addison, who is on. He's not even on the fucking bracket. He's in the Hall of Fame for the villains. After what he just did to me, I was terrorized by Jordan Addison this week.
Mike, I could have benched him.
No, you still would have won. But yeah. So anyway, I'm sitting there watching, and I'm just like, "Fuck this shit." I didn't even watch Sunday Night Football. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm not even watching this anymore. But
I was afraid to talk to you. I thought you were mad at me.
I was just like, you got to be fucking kidding me. How the fuck did this happen? AJ scored 86 points last week, and now he scored 220.
I did not. I won last week, didn't I? No. Last week was
No, you
PJ.
lost big time
The week before I won, but who was I playing the week before?
Oh.
Who was I playing week 12? Oh fuck! It was you.
Yeah, you pretty much only win when you play me. So if you need a guaranteed victory, you just put AJ against Mike, and you know what's going to happen. But anyway, I will own up to. We had a bet that if AJ won, that I would add Poochie to my Simpsons tattoo leg. It's not going to be immediate. It'll be after the holiday season at some point, but I will own up to it. But there is discussion that we might hold off until the next time we're actually together for me to do it. Now, we might gauge this because we don't know when that's going to be officially, but I'm a man of my word. I will add Poochie. I have, my Simpsons tattoo leg. I will add Poochie to it, but it'll be under protest.
No.
So
That's so funny.
Juice. I have to see if did you see what I tagged you in for my potential double down on this bet?
Was this recently?
Yeah, it was in the fantasy
chat.
group. So
oh no, I didn't.
Basically this. I want to double down on this bet. And this week I play you in the consolation bracket.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if I win, you do a Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario World theme cover on Keytar.
Oh.
And if you win,
heck yeah.
If you win, I get the Yoshi tattoo.
I think you secretly want the Yoshi tattoo.
I think we kind of want the Yoshi tattoo, y'all.
No, I feel so bad because behind
About
the scenes,
how crazy that game ended up turning out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, behind the scenes, anybody who doesn't know our league, I traded my entire team away. But I had a bunch of people who had week 14 buys. So we were on week 14 of the season, and I traded away everybody who would have been off that week. And I tried to upgrade my team, but I was also trying to beat Mike. And it looks like I was just trying to beat Mike because I lost every matchup. But I also lost every matchup because everybody had their best week against me.
Yeah.
So it looks terrible. The optics are very bad.
I really think y'all should go together and get both a Yoshi and a Poochie tattoo together. I think it'd be cool.
I want to give myself an out, and I want to do consolation bet. I want to do bets to the consolation bracket until I lose.
I really want to. Yeah,
Go ahead, Juice.
do it. I want to. Yeah, I want to win this consolation tournament because I've had just horrible luck since like week 3. So I'm trying to end the season on a high note.
I really think Joe Backerts is magic. You know,
And she's
I mean, it's the playoffs.
she's in
And
the
I
playoff
like
with
to
Zach
think
Ertz.
Backerts-
I
don't think I'm
chose
gonna
wrong.
get
I had my big decision was, do I keep Tua or Rashid Rice as my IR guy? Because I got to get rid of one of them. I can't keep 2 injured guys. And I chose wrong. I chose Rice. Got rid of Tua. And Rice is still, Rice isn't even coming back. So
I think truly, if by some miracle I win the league this year, which we're about to discuss the stakes of in a minute, but I really think if Juice won last year with Zach Ertz, I won this year with Zach Ertz, I really think the league trophy
Pulling
should
all
be
in
the
on-
Zach Ertz trophy. We're going all in on Ertz.
The Ertz.
We're going all in on the Ertz. He's officially the mascot of our fantasy football league. I don't think that's going to happen because there's someone in the chat named William who I think is going to dominate, but you
He
never
is the
know.
odds-on
Or this
favorite.
guy, or Chance.
William is the odds-on favorite right now.
But here's the thing, and I need y'all to
Shake.
listen up. Sure, would the satisfaction of winning the league mean a lot to you? But what would be better than that? I think personally, it's watching Chance live stream the Eras tour. And I'm being gracious, y'all. I originally told him he had to listen to all 11 albums, and I needed that documented. And he stupidly, even though I told him it was many hours of music, didn't realize how many hours of music, or never thought I'd make the playoffs. And if so, screw you, I did. But anyways, I did. Thank you. I'm not sure which one it was. But now that I'm in the playoffs, he's getting a little scared. And he was like, can we? And because I'm a gracious, nice person, I said, sure, I'll allow that. And I think what we all really need to see is Chance eat crow. Like, I really would just like to see him have to do this. So whoever wants to, I don't know. I know trades are no longer a thing, but if you want to drop some play, give me a heads up. So I
What,
can
what's
clear
your
it.
waiver priority?
It's real bad right now because I just used it. I needed a defense. I don't know. I was scared. I felt like Tampa wasn't going to do great this week, so I picked up Atlanta. But now I'm like, I'm going to end up playing Atlanta.
You picked
and
up the
they're
Atlanta
so-
defense?
They're playing the Raiders,
playing
who
the
are
Raiders.
going to be starting Spencer Rattler.
So that was my hopes. I don't know, AJ.
Not Desmond Ritter.
AJ's not giving me confidence in that decision. Guys, I need to beat Mariano. I need to at least make it to the semis.
And,
I really would like to win the whole league, if I'm being honest. But I would like to at least.
I think you have a chance. I mean,
I'm in there.
you're because you have a pretty your
People to
season's
play,
been
so.
a second half wins.
We have
Pretty much, right?
built-
Yeah.
we've gotten stronger in the second half for sure.
I did great in the second half as long as I wasn't playing AJ.
It's available. Noted. Contemplating it. Like this is
no,
where I'm
this
torn,
color.
y'all, because like I love my boy. I love my boy Kirky Cousins, but here's where I'm torn. He hasn't really been delivering them. Is it time that I bench him and put in someone else in the flex? But then if I do, this will be the game because like every once in a
He's
while he
playing
gets
the Raiders.
40
Play him.
points. Yeah,
It's
right?
prime time, but it's against the
Mm.
Raiders. You play them.
Okay.
It's prime time, but
I wish he could play Tampa again. He's really good against Tampa's defense.
Yeah.
If we could just get one more game, I know you only play your divisional opponents twice, but if we just get a third game against Tampa, I personally would really appreciate it. Also, I'm really hoping for my boy Jared and my boy Amon Ra to have a great game for obvious reasons. That's a Lions fan. And against
gonna be a
Buffalo.
sweet game.
But like,
Good
I
game.
gotta assume it's gonna be a high scoring game,
Yeah,
right? We can all
that's a
hope for
shootout.
that. I hope that my boy Jared gets me. I really listen. I love our running backs. I love them so much. Thank you so much for everything you do for us, David Montgomery, and obviously Jameer Gibbs. But I'm gonna need y'all to like not.
No.
Well, I do.
Montgomery needs.
In another league, actually, I do need Montgomery to do some things. But like, y'all get like one little Montgomery, get me a little touchdown. I know you'll get me a little touchdown, but then can we just like nice passing? Let's throw that ball. Let's just get that pigskin in the air. You know what I mean? Thanks, appreciate you.
I'm not saying that I'm going to add a clause that if Zay Flowers doesn't outscore Kirk Cousins, I'll get a nose ring, but it's on the table.
Okay, I like this. You're gonna like this.
So we're actually going to be
Nose is
subjecting
on fire.
ourselves to something pretty terrible on Sunday. We haven't bought
Yes,
them yet.
We like torture.
We're kind of just waiting till the last minute. But
'Cause I
Bethany
think
and
they might pay us
Yeah.
come Sunday.
we're gonna go to the Jacksonville Jaguars New York Jets game, which the tickets are I think right now on StubHub you can get in for $14.
Let's go.
I'm thinking we can get single digits on Sunday.
If I can get in for like less than $10, stellar. Let's go.
That
But
should be a
guys-
great game. Could be the next
Oh, yeah.
13,
Oh, yeah.
14.
Which then means the actual best
Yeah,
game of
it's-
the weekend.
Yeah.
I will be watching in a car
Yeah,
on
it's
our way home.
It's
So
13-14 of NFL
Yeah,
games.
if it's if the score ends in 13-14, we're all
I just want everyone to
What
know,
a
please
shot.
everyone say, wow, Bethany, what a great wife you are, that I am giving up Bills Lions to go watch the Jags versus the Jets, everyone.
And it's
That's
going to be a
interesting.
tie.
Tell me I'm a great wife.
Tied at 5.
It's going to be.
They're both going to get a
That's it,
safety
like-
and a field goal. That's it.
Then that's it. What a great game. We go into overtime because they're tied at 5. Could you imagine? I'd die. I'd be like, guys, I can't. It's gonna be great. You've never been inside the Jaguar Stadium, right?
Yeah, I've been to the facility for music festival, but it wasn't actually inside the stadium. It was just on the ground.
So we'll be going in. It's subpar. It's a subpar stadium. The jumbotrons are amazing. Great
The last
video
season.
screens. The pools are fun.
This is
Are they doing a dome? What are they doing? Are they still outside? What are they building?
I honestly don't
I don't know.
remember. Jacksonville's getting a new stadium, and they're going to be displaced for a couple years.
Yeah.
So
Which have they announced yet where
They
they're
haven't.
playing? I know they pitched a couple ideas. So
London.
we'll be doing Florida, Georgia, and Atlanta and Tampa in the meantime.
So the other interesting thing, though, I'm sure
Much farther drive.
anyone who follows baseball knows that the Tampa Bay Rays Stadium got demolished in one of the hurricanes. They're actually going to be playing at the AAA team stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So major league games are going to be in like an 8,000 seat stadium.
That's interesting. Honestly, that's what the Rays can sell, though. So it'll work out great for them. That's me. They're lovely, but they don't sell well.
Completely unrelated. Did you guys see that there's new Friday Night Lights coming out?
No.
They're doing a reboot, and it
TV
follows
show.
a team in a small town in Texas that their town is rebuilding after a hurricane, and it's their goal to win the state championship.
Oh my
while
God,
they're
I'm going to
rebuilding through
eat
the
this
hurricane.
shit up. Movie or TV show, though? Do we know?
TV show.
TV show?
Yep.
Oh, F me up, fam.
Yep.
There.
Peter Berg is
Day
doing
one.
it.
Ready. I'm ready to. Oh, God. I'm ready. Let's go. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm into it.
My hype levels hit like 9,000, and
Will
we
it be
didn't get
something
Night
like
Bitch.
that? I don't think y'all understand what Friday Night Lights means to me. Sorry.
Speaking of Night Bitch came out like limited, like Night Bitch. We need a new cable for our microphone. So,
Because if anyone would like to get us a Christmas gift,
I have your address.
it's a Christmas gift.
we need a Blue Yeti Nano cord.
Cord. Thank you. Much obliged. I think it's like $7 on Amazon. We're just lazy and we forget to order it. And every week I'm like, I'm gonna order it, and then I don't. So
Wait, what kind of cable is it? It's just like an XLR, like
yeah, it's just like a USB
one
cord.
or just a.
I don't remember what size it is in the mic.
Is it
itself.
a micro USB to
Yes.
micro
that.
USB to USB?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Micro
Yeah,
USB. That's like what PS4 controllers have or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Same. Yep.
It's whatever the
Probably have
it's
an extra
the Blue
one.
Yeti
This is
Nano.
on Amazon right now.
No, I have. I'm looking at my floor of just
Like I have a
billion
plethora of them. I'll
cords that
send
I
you
could
one.
Probably have way more than I
We
need.
still have
I don't know if
our
it'll work.
Brooks keychain, which is our official mail keychain. It makes me happy every time I use it.
The what?
The Garth Brooks key.
Oh yeah. I think I have mine in my drawer.
Iconic. It's iconic.
The poker chip.
And we will be watching From Justin to Kelly any day now.
And I have mine attached to the mailbox key for my work.
Oh, nice.
I love that.
I don't think I actually like have mine in like
Oh,
any
we need to
practical
use
use.
yours. We are all using ours.
To
Let's see if my brownies are any good.
Didn't explain it to anybody, anything like that.
I'm gonna put it on keys at work. No,
Yeah?
no explanation. Just
Yep.
I don't know where that came from.
and just I like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I like that.
I can't tell you guys how many times I still use cool stuff, neat stuff, slick stuff, still on a daily basis at my job.
Your employees must just be like, what the hell is going to come out of his mouth next?
Yes.
I never even.
The busier the bit.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. I got this at an antique store. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
I remember getting the very excited messages from you. So, like, for those who don't know, like, Justin in our group chat will disappear for lengths of time, and then all of a sudden come back in like a fucking freight train of excitement.
Just with the best gem.
Like, yeah, I just bought all of us Garth Brooks keychains, and I'm gonna mail it to you guys. What's your addresses?
That came with our Christmas card last year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was
fun. I gotta give out
a lot of
what
fun.
we give.
So we are approaching the end of the year, which is going to be my way of transitioning into the thumbnail of this whole video. We thought coming into the holiday season that Red One was going to be the What the Show movie of the year. We were wrong.
Oh, yeah.
The absolute most What the Show movie of the year, and spoiler alert, unless something comes out and wows me to death, currently my favorite movie of the year. and will be number one on my year-end rank is Y2K.
Mike, one quick caveat. Did you remember that Argyle came out this year?
Argyle is going to probably be on
Sorry,
the
I
list.
see that.
So remember, I usually drink bum wine when we announce our list. So my list could be very fluid that night based on how much bum wine I've had when I make the list.
This is accurate.
So, Argyle is definitely going to be in the conversation. Trap is going to be very high on the list.
Fantastic.
But Y2K is a fucking masterpiece.
10 out of 10.
It's
No.
really good. I
This
hate how
movie-
much it's really good.
It has everything.
I don't understand why people don't like this movie. I don't know what movie they were expecting. Well, this is exactly the tone I wanted it to hit.
So there is a scene, like all of the electronics kind of like after years of, spoiler alert, this is the whole premise of the movie anyway. So spoiler alert, but the electronics basically try to take over and eradicate the humans. And there is a scene very early on into the electronics, like basically becoming like a Voltron and all forming together to form kind of like a robot. And there is a scene that is probably about 75 to 90 seconds long of one that it walks out of the house chasing after some surviving humans. And literally they just follow this robot, this makeshift robot walking with nothing else going on. And then all of a sudden the robot throws its hands in the air and like starts cheering for itself. And I was like, this just became the A+. This is everything I wanted. This is cinema.
William, kind of. It's kind of like Chopping Mall. It's
William,
kind of like it's Chopping Mall meets Small Soldiers with like a couple of like the dash of bitters in the cocktail is a little bit of super bad. It's phenomenal.
William and Lego, both of you, you need to go see this movie. You absolutely need.
May
to
I also say, I know a lot of people were like, when the promotional stuff was coming out, was like, wow, like, Kyle Mooney just like really gets it, and the fashion is so on point and whatever, which yes. But like the attitude of teenagers in this era, I feel like is so on point. Like the fact that someone just like freestyle raps with absolutely no explanation, I was like, yes, that literally was what was happening at that time. The fact that like people were like sellouts and posers and whatever, like we all grew up in the posers era, and I was like, this is so like, thank you, because like so many movies that like try to hit that nostalgia, whatever. Like they might get the fashion right, or they might get the pop culture references, but like the attitude and like the way that the like teenagers were, I was like, thank you. Yet like this is what to like it just felt really like authentic to how teenagers were actually behaving in that time. And again, I know this movie like has not been very critically like well received. And to you, I say, what tone did you expect this movie to take? But I don't think that that's getting enough like this movie is absurd. It's ridiculous. But truly, I don't think it's getting enough credit for doing things like that. Like how well, like, they got that aspect of it right. Like, and
they were teenagers with attitude.
Well. Yes.
And for me, like the majority of the cast is supposed to be the class of 2001, which is I graduated in 2000.
Right.
So this literally was like exactly.
And hit that. We get it. You're a boy who grew up in the 90s.
I mean, there's a lot. I will say, like, like a lot of things are thrown out. Like they do throw a lot of things just to throw them in there. Like, oh, I just got hit in the head with a Tamagotchi or something like that, where it's a throwaway joke, but they had to get the reference in. I mean, I can kind of get why somebody like, oh, they're just doing this to throw that in there. But that's exactly what it was supposed to be. It's like, oh, you're supposed to be like, oh, yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember that too. That's what this movie is supposed to be.
Right. I love that.
Jinkos,
Yeah.
And when they showed the Ska Kids, oh my god, the Ska Kids was my favorite little throwaway gag. Like they spent money on costuming for that, and like it felt authentic. And honestly, like the fact that the late 90s technology robots that they built were once again authentic, real built props, and it felt really good.
Yes, I agree.
it's 93 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, a runtime is perfect.
It flies by.
Yeah, you're in, you're out, you're like, what the F is going on at certain points? It's so absurd, it's dumb, but it is like legitimately, I think, very dumb fun. And I think again, it got like, yes, there are always like the shoehorns, like we're gonna make these references because it was popular at the time thing. But I feel like overall it just got the vibe of that time, like very correct.
And it's like kind of, I've seen this comparison, and I think this one is fair. Like a "this is the end" kind of situation where it's like it's taking this absurdist situation, kind of making it somewhat of a horror movie, but it's so tongue in cheek that you're not viewing it that way. And even when it does have the horror parts of it, everything is done so absurdly that it's like this horrific situation in reality, but they are just taking it so tongue in cheek that it's just fun.
Like, do
By
you
the
think
way-
you wanted? Sorry, go ahead, AJ.
Oh, my screening. You guys were alone in the theater. I was with 6 other people in the theater, right?
Oh,
And guess what?
You did have
None of
2
them
other
were together, and they were
Yeah.
all guys. Like, I'm gonna say, I was the youngest guy in the theater, and the oldest guy
Mhm.
was 45.
yeah. Mm-hmm. That
And
adds up.
We all laughed at every
At the
comedy.
same thing.
Like every time somebody died, we were laughing.
So our theater, though, we did have, it was 2 girls who walked in, and one of them definitely seemed younger, and she lost interest
She was on her phone the entire time,
and had the brightness on.
so
Oh,
high,
Ooh.
and I was like,
I had to
"Hello."
put my foot over the seat to kind of block the phone from my view because it was that distracting.
Yeah, it was a little distracting. And they left like almost like when you're at a football game and you know that like, oh, we're up 60-2, like I'm gonna go ahead and leave early. Not me. I'm not that
They
person.
missed the entire
But it was
thing.
like they were like, we gotta beat the traffic. And I was like, what traffic? Like, we're the 4 people in this theater. They missed the entire ending. They left with like 4 minutes left of the film. And I'm like,
Oh,
you made it this
that's wild.
far. And you can't just stay to watch the ending. Boggled my mind. But yeah, I just really want to know, I guess, like what people, which obviously like everyone's allowed to have their own taste, whatever. But like, I'm curious, do you think people thought they were going to take the Y2K stuff more seriously? Like, what if Y2K was real and like make it like serious about it? Because like I got from the vibe of the trailer that it was going to be kind of like slapstick silly. So I'm like, do you think maybe people thought that bit was going to be more serious or like?
I
don't
think
know.
that in that way, the A24 distribution might have hurt this movie.
yeah.
Because I
Mhm.
think people were expecting like A24 is kind of like high bar, right? Like they're like have a certain caliber of movies, but like
For the
this
most
is
part,
like
yeah.
a dumb like horror comedy, whatever you want to call it, action comedy. Like what would we call it? I guess horror comedy. I don't know.
It's like a horror spoof. Almost.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's not like
that's-
ragging on something. In
Once I
particular, but-
like, again, I didn't know exactly what to expect, but like once I kind of got the tone from the trailer, I knew obviously who was directing it, so I know obviously he's more of like a funny comedian type of guy. And then once we started the film, I was like, oh, I know what tone this is going to be. And once you sit in for that tone, you're like, yeah, like this is great. Like
And
this is
just
exactly
enjoy
what
the
I want
ride.
it to be.
Yeah. Well, it's a cool thing too. Like I first heard about this movie on Hypecast. I don't know if anybody else has ever listened to a single episode of Hypecast. It's Tom Ryman, Tom from Schmodown, and his partner who
yeah.
does like Fox Mulder's Maniac, all that stuff, and his podcasting co-host Dave was like, yeah, I've hung out with Kyle Mooney. His entire house is a shrine to the late 90s.
Yeah.
And
He's very,
Have
he's
faith.
very, everyone was like, oh, we're in good hands. Like he gets that time period. And I would agree. Like, obviously, I think he did a very good job, like capturing that. It's very funny, you know, what was it earlier this year? We had kind of like a little mini Y2K. And as someone who was quite young when Y2K happened, but old enough to kind of vaguely understand what was going on, I just remember like hearing bits and pieces of the news, whatever. And I was like genuinely terrified of it because I was at that age where like it seems like a very scary thing because it was like adults were talking about it. It was on the news a lot. And then when that like we had that like weird thing that crashed and like airlines had to pause or whatever earlier this year,
Oh
I went
yeah.
home to Mike and I said, Y2K is a lot less dramatic than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because basically, like, we had that happen this year. Like, the thing everyone was so worried about happening on New Year's Day 2000 happened literally this year. And so many other crazy things have happened in the world this year that it's a blip on the radar. Things that have happened. Yes,
Well,
I've
and
been
it's,
breaking there.
it's such a weird thing because we joke about it, but literally millions of man hours went
Oh
to
my God,
preventing catastrophe.
Like, it was a real
Um,
legit concern. And a lot of, like, very smart people spent so much time and effort to make sure nothing happened.
And literally, like, if anybody really remembers, it affected a handful of things, but nothing drastic. Like, it had to have been something that was like so old that it couldn't handle the fact that it was changing.
Y'all remember those commercials, like those fear mongering commercials where it was like lights would go out, this would happen, that would happen. And I was so scared to go out that New Year's. Like, I remember being like genuinely concerned, and my parents were like, no, it's fine. Like, a lot of smart people have like looked into it because, again, like, they were adults and they kind of understood things better. But I remember when it hit midnight, like, looking around and being like, is everything still working? Are we okay?
I was at a YMCA lock-in. Like, we were born the same year.
Oh, hey.
And like, I was afraid to go, but my parents were like, "Yeah, you're good. You'll be
Like,
good."
it's fine. Yeah, all of our parents were like, "It's totally okay," and all of us little anxious children were like, "But guys, I think I need to be worried about this."
So I was going to ask William in the chat if you remember this. WWF did something right after the midnight countdown. I watched that actually instead of the ball that year because that was when I was in the height of the Attitude Era. If you were watching USA Network, they did their countdown, and it turned into the Chris Jericho countdown, and then he came out and cut a promo right after the millennium.
Well, when I told him I loved the movie, he said it was Chris Jericho in it. So I think so.
So that's a very famous concert, William. I'm very well aware of that. It was Metallica, Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, and Seven Dust, if I remember correctly.
Wild time.
And they played Detroit Rock City right after midnight struck, where they brought like all the bands on stage from all the opening bands, and they played Detroit Rock City by Kiss as their first song of the millennium. Yes, I'm a nerd. I know that.
I'm just saying, here's a question to the crew. If you were to make a nostalgia movie set in a certain period, like, what year are you setting your movie in? Because I know exactly the year I would set my movie.
Does it have to be for your own life?
No. Just like something
just
that
in general?
you
Okay.
are interested in a time. I think it is probably more interesting if it was something you actually lived and experienced because you have nostalgia for it. Like, I love 80s stuff, but like, I didn't actually ever live in the 80s, so I don't know if I'm the person who's equipped to make something based in that. But I'll go first. Mine is 2004. 100% would be the year that I would set my thing in. It's like that. Oh, it's early aughts. Music is musicking. I was at a very coming of age point in my life. Like, I was in like 7th grade, which is like, so like kids riding on bikes, they're always like that age, like 11, 12, that like 11 to 13 range. So it's like the perfect age range to make a story set in. By the way, Skeleton Crew is amazing. I've been loving it. Speaking of kids riding on bikes, but yeah, if I was going to set something, See Your Hot Fuss came out, Jimmy Eat World Futures, like the soundtrack that this movie could have, the nostalgia, the Aeropostale and the Hollister shirts, and again, we're still in very much that like poser sellout era. Yeah, I think that would be the year I would set it in. I would do early aughts for sure.
I think I'm going a little bit later.
Okay, hit me with that.
I think I'm going 2007.
2007. Ooh, that's a good year. Sometimes, again, in my hypothetical mind where I make this movie set in the early aughts, I'm like, I think of certain music like the My Chem albums and like Fall Out Boy, whatever, and I'm like, oh, but I wouldn't be able to use that song because that didn't come out until like 05, 06, 07. And I'm like, oh, My Chem would be really good. But we do have some My Chem at this point. Just not some of their like, we're not in like the Black Parade era yet. So
Almost Famous, but emo era.
yeah.
Almost famous, but peak emo.
Our like sect of millennials, AJ, would eat that shit up. Like our age range of millennials, give us emo era, Almost Famous, and we would with a spoon. Eat that up.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned 2004. Like it from a pop culture perspective, a good chunk of like what I would pick, like from a musical
Green Day,
perspective,
American Idiot. I came out that year.
like for the music that I listened to, it was actually a very big year. The new wave of American heavy metal had 4 super important albums come out that year. So that
More things for the soundtrack. Thank you.
yeah, like because Lamb of God's Ashes of the Wake, Mastodon's Leviathan, Killswitch Engages, The End of Heartache, all of them came out in 2004.
Have I ever told you all my working theory about music? About how I think 4 and 8s of every decade has like the best music, and how like realistically that makes sense because every decade it takes a few years to find the footing of what the sound is. So in the 4 of the decade, you get what is the sound of that decade, and then in the 8, we're all trying to find the sound for the next decade, and you start getting more like revolutionary, whatever. So I think like literally, if you look at the last 40 years of music, it's always like 84, 94, like. It is always the 4s and the 8s that seem to like stand out, I feel like, in people's minds for music. And that's my working theory.
Yeah. The other year though, I was gonna say, like kind of going. I know because where everybody's head went was like to the early teens. Like 95 was kind of another year that really came into my head. From both like a movie and it's tough because 93 is actually really, really tough to beat in terms of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, 93 is a really, really, really good
93 is
movie.
a top notch.
And 94 as well.
Yeah,
94.
94 is
Oh yeah, like that 3-year stretch right there from like a pop perspective. You got all the grunge music.
All
coming
the
out.
like 99 was such a big year in movies. Such a big year.
Yeah, 93, 4, 5 were huge, and then took a couple years.
7 and 9.
It settled down a little bit. 96, 97, 90, like I'm not thinking
Yeah.
they're there.
That's a good year.
But
Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
guys.
everyone remembers that iconic
What
film.
are we
The
doing?
English Patient.
An English
like,
Patient.
Well,
That's
and
when
the
I got
2000
introduced to the world too.
The 2004 movie, we would talk about Avenue Q, obviously the Tony Award-winning musical that has definitely stood the test of time more so than the musical it was up against. No, I said No Shade Avenue Q. Actually, really good musical and made stars of Bobby Lopez. So good for him. He got a very successful career from that. But again, standing the test of time. Avenue Q, right? What was the other thing? Oh, Wicked. Yeah, that's right. That little musical that's still running on Broadway.
95, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
You
But
go
it
for
wasn't until 97 that we got James Remar.
97's the masterpiece.
from Best Picture.
You're welcome for that.
From 93, you got Schindler's List. 94, you have Forrest Gump. 95, you have Braveheart. Then you have English Patient, obviously Titanic. But then, Shakespeare in Love.
Wow,
And it's
the
like
90s were,
3
like,
amazing
so
years.
fire,
and
y'all.
No, it's legitimate. Like the 90s, if you look at every decade of movies,
Yeah.
the 80s, the 80s has so many bangers, but they're spread out. Like the 90s, there's a lot, but most of them are right in the middle of the 90s. Like the big ones are from between 93 and 96 with a couple of, outliers on both ends, but most of the movies you think about that are like the big ones are in that 3-year stretch. Like we were spoiled in that 3-year stretch.
No, not to be
Y'all
honest.
remember the twist at the end of There's Something About Mary where it turns out Brett Favre is an amazing guy?
Yeah, about that.
Mortal Kombat.
Good transition.
I miss, which I feel like in the last few years we've come back to, and I'm going to call that the Ted Lasso effect. I think that there is a certain, I want to say from like 93, like a decade's worth of time. Let's say like 93 to 2003. Maybe we'll push it to like 2004, 2005. I feel like there was a certain like sentimentality that was allowed in like movies and TV shows or whatever. And then we all got like really like edgy for a while, which is like great. And I'm not saying that there weren't some really great things that came out from that. But for like years, we weren't allowed to be sentimental. And I feel like we're finally kind of starting. We're like the This Is Us's and the Ted Lassos are kind of like bringing that back. And I'm like, thank you. Because like the 90s had some real bangers because we just like let people be a little cheesy sometimes, and that is good.
Most of these movies that we mentioned, not all of them, but a good chunk of the ones that are from that time frame, they let the movies breathe a little bit at the beginning.
It's on the list. Like,
the movies though, like they didn't go for like instant gratification, and if they did it in a way that was earned. Like I look, Jurassic Park to me is one of the most perfect. You know, while it has some imperfections, but like it's such a wonderfully crafted movie. In that, like you have that first scene where they give you a little tease of the Velociraptor to get kind of show what kind of chaos can happen, and then it slows down for the next 20 minutes and lets you get to know the characters. Like you don't see that as much.
Yeah, not to be like
movies.
a curmudgeon-y person, but like a movie. Like the other day, we were talking about like taking kids to see Wicked. It's rated PG. There's nothing really. Again, I know the flying monkeys. That's something that the Wizard of Oz traumatized a lot of kids. I was never scared of them, but I understand a lot of people were, justifiably. So, talking about seeing kids, everyone's like, I just don't know with the runtime, which I understand.
It's long,
but I also was like, I'm not to be that person, but I feel like when I was growing up, like first of all, again, we had movies that like breathed. Like we didn't immediately have to get to the plot. What's going on? Like we, like had time. Moose, my rival. Sorry about that. But anyways, like we took time. We let I remember we went to go see the anniversary of Alien this year. I was like, this movie starts so slow, and I effing love that. Like we had time to establish things. I went and saw Titanic in theaters. Let me stress this, in theaters when I was 7 years old. My mom closed my eyes a couple parts, but I was 7 years, and I went and said, people are like, I don't know if I could take my kid to see Wicked. I'm like, what's wrong with this gender? No, I'm kidding. The kids are all right. But like, I'm like, oh, like, do you think people like have changed, or people are more just like, oh, I don't know if my kids or whatever? Because I'm like, I don't know, y'all. Like, and I get I was a weird kid, but like, I could sit through a movie.
It could be a lot of like the iPad.
Yeah,
that's
the iPad generation.
Short form content. Like we just like
over.
We have to get to it. Like.
But here's the crazy thing is that, and I don't remember who it was Variety or Entertainment, but whatever. They said the people who actually like longer movies more are like the teens and the
yes.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that that's what the kids think. I'm saying that's why the parents don't want to take their kids. They're like, oh, they can't sit through
it's a
2-minute video. It's a perceived thing where I loved long movies as kids.
Yes.
When I went to the theater, I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
Anymore,
I wanted Captain America to be 7 hours,
Yeah, I was like, let's go. But yeah, I don't.
You were a kid for Captain America. God.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I should have Spider-Man, like Spider-Man 2002. That's what I meant. I wasn't a kid for Spider-Man.
I am generalizing, obviously. I think there are a lot of people
are
going to see Wicked that can sit through it and whatever. But it is just like, I don't know. Like, it's just funny to me that people are like, oh, I don't know the length. Like, I've heard so many like mom friends be like, oh, I don't know the length. And I'm like, I think you're going to have more of an issue with the length than the kid is, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a big piece.
Here's a question for the panel. Like, what was the first, like, quote unquote, long movie you saw? I mean, Titanic, I'm going to guess is probably yours.
Yeah, Titanic was mine.
I grew up on all the Lord of the Rings. So Lord of the Rings, Return of the King would have been the longest movie I saw in theaters.
All of those in theaters. I'm trying, like, a lot of like the longer movies I saw as rentals, like Braveheart, for example, I saw as a rental. That was probably one of the first ones. Like that, Braveheart was among the first movies I watched that was like split on 2 VHSs.
Guys, my knee-jerk reaction, it's probably Lord of the Rings, but my knee-jerk reaction, I just looked up the runtime. It's 2 hours and 7 minutes. I was about to go Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, Passion of the Christ was long, but not crazy long.
Yeah.
T2 was what, 220?
Yeah, that's a longer movie.
T2 was probably 220, yeah.
T2 was probably like the longest, like the first, like it might have been the first movie I saw in theaters that was over 2 hours. That's probably legit, actually.
And do you all, with the 3-hour movies that we enjoyed, the 2 tape VHSs, do all of you remember exactly where it cuts? Because I will never forget.
I remember where
Titanic,
Gangs of New York cuts
Mm.
on its 2 DVD.
Yeah, the Lord of the Rings extended edition were 2 DVDs, and I remember where all
I was
3
about
of
to
them
say that
cut.
exactly. I remember where Fellowship of the Ring
Remember
leaves
Fellowship-
off.
Yeah, it's literally Elrond says you should be the Fellowship of the Ring, and it's over.
I think I remember kind
No,
of where
No,
Misha
Pippin gets the
Black
last.
was.
Mary gets the last line. Where are we going?
Oh yeah.
And then
Where
it
are we
cuts.
going? Yeah,
No,
you're right.
they
You're right.
don't
You're right.
know, man. They don't
I
know
guess
the
I didn't
joy
remember.
of knowing exactly where
No,
your
I-
long movie cuts and you have to change to the next.
Oh,
Now,
sure.
I didn't learn to love Titanic until I was like 22, 23.
You missed so many
I
years.
love the
you missed
movie,
out on loving it.
William in the chat will again. I'm going to go old school.
So
The
good.
WrestleMania 4 on VHS was cut into two tapes, and the middle of the match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant is where you have to switch. They didn't like try to like
I
trim
like
it.
that we still have spoilers for the substance
Yeah.
stuff right now.
You
Yes.
didn't even bother going to like
We're spoiling it. We're spoiling the substance.
didn't bother going to like cutting it beforehand to make it more like just the middle of the match. Switch to tape 2.
It's quality.
Independence Day. That's a good. That's also a good one for one of the longer ones of that generation. Absolutely, Moose.
I also was a weird kid in which spoilers did not deter me from seeing something. It made me want to see something more. Because again, like I 100% knew the ending of Titanic. Well, we all know the ending of Titanic because the ship sinks. But I knew the spoiler alert for a really old ass movie. I knew that Jack died. I knew exactly, basically, that he was going to die and Rose was going to live. And I was like, let's go see that mother effing movie. Little 7-year-old me. Hype. Let's go. I'm ready for this.
I knew
tragic
Bruce Willis
one.
was dead at the end of the first sentence. Like,
At the end of the first sentence. That's another one I knew already then. I knew before I ever watched that movie that Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. And yet I still was super hyped to see it.
That was probably I genuinely
I didn't know
think
that.
of any movie I ever saw in theaters.
Bruce, Juice
Yeah.
Why Not Tonight.
No. I didn't. I didn't know that, and I watched that movie for the first time in like 2016, 15.
Oh, so you just stayed
How did you
there
not
free.
know
That's
that? That's
amazing.
such a-
I don't know. I
honestly.
I watched it early
Not a lowly.
enough into my like movie because I'm the first of any like one I know friend wise to like get into movies.
Well, we know
So,
that
like,
about Whitney even.
And if my parents if we didn't own the movie, basically, my
You
headphones are cutting.
weren't.
I don't know if I can hear you guys.
We were like watching award shows or anything like that because that was just like such a reference for like the year that came out. Like, you know what I mean?
What was that? My headphones are cut out.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I guess you weren't like watching award shows and stuff back then. We weren't allowed.
No.
I guess technically.
That
But
was when I
you-
like first got into movies. Was 2014, 2015.
But yeah,
Yeah,
I was
Which also
I was
makes
just
the
graduating
question-
high school.
this guy. I love how like random this is the ebbs and flows
What's
of what
the
the
show?
show conversation. Also makes the question of everyone on this stream: are we all like? Because
Oh, muted.
Oh,
Deeks
that
are
wasn't
muted.
me. I thought it was me.
The deacons
obviously I know
over.
you know my family, whatever. Like, were your families into that, like into movies in the way that like we are into movies? Are we all like the first generation of like movie nerds in our family?
So, my dad, I was just remembering this the other day, was really into Steven Seagal movies.
right on.
All right, right on, yeah.
And now, looking back on it, I'm like, I don't think that he was unironically into them,
Yeah,
but
He,
he
like,
sold them
legit-
unironically to the kids.
So he
That's a
like he had his
thing.
little like pop culture thingamabob. Juice, your
Yeah.
family was not really like pop culture peeps.
No, my dad definitely watched movies.
Yeah.
I think he was very like conscious of like what we were watching and if we were seeing things we shouldn't be seeing at a
Right.
young age. So like he didn't watch a lot of movies, at least not in front of us.
Right.
So I think but like when Taken came out, like I remember, we would rent Taken, watch that as a family. So like we would rent my grandma, which was so funny, was like the Rush Hour movies, like the cruder comedy.
Yeah.
Like we didn't
Oh,
really
grandma
watch.
was into
And my
that?
grandma was like, "Oh, I love the Rush Hour movies." Like drop that like
Oh, bless
when
her.
that, and I'm like, "What the heck? Like we can't." I
Because I
can't
feel
watch
like
that, but
yours,
grandma loves it.
your
kidding me?
dad like watches movies, but first of all, he's like the worst critic because everything is just that was okay. If it's good, if it's bad, it was okay. But like I wouldn't call your parents like movie people.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I grew up like on the regular, at least once a month. Usually, we would go on like Sunday matinees of the big movies more times than not when I was younger. So like we'd go to like the 1:00 showtime of on Sunday of whatever the release was. So like all the major movies I saw, like that. My dad and I went to the bulk of them. If it was something really big, my mom would go. My sister went to a lot of them with me too, but it was kind of a thing. Like event movies were always a part of my life.
Star Wars. Yeah. My dad is a big like comic book nerd, so like we went to every superhero movie in theaters basically growing up. So Spider-Man 2002 is what I should have said, not Captain America.
I love that you said that.
Um,
So you said it was like high school when you graduated high school is when you like really
Jumped
into it.
My, like, last
AJ,
year.
when was your like film awakening?
It was around 2000. It was 2006. My friend that I don't talk to anymore for reasons. His name is Zach Bowie.
Papa Bowie
was a youth leader in my church, and he was obsessed with movies. And I was kind of into movies, but like he kind of tried to educate me as much as he could. He was like an older brother kind of guy for me after my siblings both graduated and moved. And like the one thing I always remember when I was getting into movies with him was the first time he showed me The Usual Suspects, and I was like, "You're never gonna guess who Kaiser Soze is." Like Kevin Spacey, dude.
You like that one right there?
Yeah, and he was mad at me for like weeks, but like he showed me like Tarantino movies and like all that kind of stuff. Really kind of got me into it. So. It was that friend that you're like sophomore year of high school and hang out at your church youth leader's house when that's probably not right, but
well, but you didn't know.
That was definitely.
Yeah, it was a different era. It was a different time.
Yeah.
Now that people would probably be a little concerned, but at the time it was not as concerning.
Get some beers, whatever.
Yeah.
What?
So for me though, like
just getting high.
No secret. I've said it many times that Mallrats are my favorite movies, but Mallrats was one of the first DVDs I ever owned that had special features, like extensive special features on it. And that was one of the first times I really, really dove into like how a movie was made and the behind the scenes and what happened with it at the box office. I was very much as a kid. I read New York Newsday. We got it every day, and they always had the box office report.
Oh, I love Box Office Mojo.
Well,
like there I was, the Hollywood exec. Like I had put money on this. Why did I care about that? But I did.
The day they changed the site was the day my life changed.
Yes, and I still hate. And I'm like, please, could you bring it back to its former glory?
Yeah. So I was, but that
looked very good.
I was like that with just the newspaper back as a kid. Every Tuesday was when the numbers came out, and I'd always look to see what the box, just to see if the movies I liked or was interested in did good. And when the Mallrats DVD came out, and you heard Kevin Smith explicitly talking about how important that was and how everything tanked with it and how that changed the trajectory of the movie and stuff like that, I think is when I really dove from like more of a, I wouldn't even say I was probably more than a casual person because, again, I was looking at box office numbers as a kid, but it's when I got more interested in the industry more so to say. And then around that same time is when the internet really started kicking in. And I was a big, I've said this before, I was big into AICN back in the day because that was like the nerd Bible back that, if, Drew McWeeny and Snyder were there. And, that was where you got all your intel, all, early reviews, things like that. And if you were into geek culture and movie stuff, that was at that time that was like the mecca. So the late 90s and early 2000s is when I really dove in, and that's when I worked in the movie theater, and everything jumped at full tilt at that point.
Mike Deacon, I need you to create a Steam account because I want to gift you a game.
What?
Okay.
I don't understand.
I think you'll have to set that up for him sometime. I don't know.
Can I
don't
just
know.
say something real quick? Can I also just say, really, I could have phrased that question as, when did you realize you were neurodivergent? Because
I mean,
when did your hyperfixation start? And I just was sitting here thinking about that, and I thought it was.
I have a story when I realized I was a nerd. So I think it was probably second grade. Well, it's not that I realized I was a nerd. It realized that like there's a difference between nerds and cool kids. I think it was like second grade, even that young, and like the popular kids, even at that time, in a very weird school, were like I was getting betrayed in like second grade. Like in first grade, like Spider-Man was cool. We draw Spider-Man and all this stuff. And then I kept like drawing Spider-Man, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, like that's weird. Like that's kid stuff. I'm like, we're 7.
We're
Like,
7. We are kids. Yes, you're correct.
So like I start getting like made fun of for
we
drawing
are literal
Spider-Man.
children.
It's like we are children.
Yeah.
So
It's not enough world.
it was sad. So from then on, I like
Okay,
never
so-
reveal to somebody that I'm a nerd until until they reveal they're a nerd to me.
Yeah.
Like if
I
I'm
think
at
that
work,
took me a
I've
long
never,
time.
and I think it's different now because the culture
Yeah.
is so much changed. Like superheroes are, I almost don't talk about it because I'm almost like over it. Like I'm not really a nerd in that way anymore. But
Oh my God. Yeah, I feel like
Here's what Lego doesn't want you to know is that she got hooked on Mortal Kombat 2021 when she was 4 years old, 3 years ago. Mike, here's my pitch on this game. Ready?
okay. Hit us
You
with it.
explore the old internet. You explore the 90s internet. These people made an entire web portal that's like exploring the 1999.
No way.
Yeah, and you
Where-
click through and you solve a mystery. It's called Hypnospace Outlaw. It's $10 on Steam. Anybody who's watching this stream right now, I will gift it to you. Just give me your Steam link. But Mike, this is a track.
It's a trap.
It's a track.
Freeze it up, cool, you can see it on your screen. Put it in your microwave, make it real hot like a soup or a dip. We call it heat and sip. Very tasty and
It loads at the same
Like
time.
it-
top butter ice cream.
I like it. I'm into it.
And you're
Was that
on
the-
web pages, and like they'll play like the looping music like they used to back in the day, and there's like view counts on web pages, and you have to scroll through blogs of like 15-year-old kids in the 90s to solve this mystery that's going on. It's insane.
wait, one more time.
they-
What was it called?
Hypnospace Outlaw.
Hypnospace Outlaw.
And it's like 3 or 4 hours to get through the entire story of this thing, but I was in it for like 40 hours. Just like this is you have your '90s desktop, and you just have to like go through and explore the 90s internet. It's wild stuff.
That's a time. That's
Weird
right.
wild stuff.
Well, there you go. While I'm away for the next couple of days, that's where you can do to entertain yourself.
I have to watch Coconut Pete.
I'll still be there for you. I'll still be there.
Oh, has anybody found the AI podcast that is generated for you in your Spotify rap?
It's very weird. It's very weird.
I
It's actually
don't have a
okay.
Spotify.
They literally
Your YouTube premium.
Right. They literally, mine was like 5 minutes, and it just talks to you like 2 AI robots talking about your rap.
It's very
That's
strange.
hilarious. I'm gonna check that out. To bring it back to fantasy football, the fantasy football raps that are now written by AI
Yeah.
Whatever algorithm they used to do was way better. These are
Way
so
better.
stupid.
Yes,
This
I
is
agree.
awful. It's not an improvement. You literally like when I would when I would have the AI come up with the stupid stories, it just grabs the most low-hanging fruit jokes.
Yep.
It's so stupid.
Back when they first started that, which was probably in the neighborhood of like maybe 2013, 2014 is when they started doing like the recaps. They were insightful recaps, like
Yeah.
telling you like they'd
They
go over
made sense.
and
Yeah.
now it's garbage.
And the
It's
grades, like I once again, I beat Mike by 70 points. Sure. Oh, sorry.
It's literally like, oh,
But like
you're looks like your
D+.
defense. Yeah. It looks like your defense slipped on some banana peels because they were very bad. Okay.
sorry, I'm gonna
Exactly.
try this again. I beat Mike by 70 points. Sure.
I
but
saw Wallace Shawn die. Wallace Shawn is dead.
It's 2 minutes for roll bait.
I like that. You're a jabroni.